Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. So guys, in this video we will have our discussion on the most searched topic on Vedic astrology, which is about the Manglik Dosh or the Kuja Dosh. So guys, when it comes down to this combination, we will be trying to look at, study it from the perspective of the matchmaking. I will not be talking about that, how it is going to be impacting an individual's personality. This whole video is going to be precisely focused on the matrimonial harmonies point of view. Just because guys, my channel is also like it's, I have almost completed 8 years on YouTube, but as I'm also making videos on the topics which are the most searched, so I'm very much sure that even in the past I would have uploaded content on the same topic. But like the way you know this thing, astrology is an ocean of knowledge, and a lot of things we astrologers also learn every day with the kind of inquiries which comes to us, with the kind of like consultations which we do in real time for the people. So blending everything, I'm sure that in this video you will have, or you will get something more on this topic based on my journey on astrology. So guys, to begin with, I want to start with this note that no matter what combination you have in your chart, believability and the commands which we give in the universe, that becomes very important. Some people have this habit of all the time giving negative commands in the universe, like the way, take up the case of those people. Why you are all the time so fearful, doing so much overtime, breaking your back? You know, I'm just saving money because when I will be like of 60 years of the age, I need money for my treatment if something happens. And you know the truth, these people, they actually end up getting all those kind of diseases and getting sick once they turn 60, because these are the commands which they are giving in the universe all the time. See, our human consciousness is so, like, it's so malleable that it actually starts manifesting things to the thought, power of the thought which we are giving on daily basis. Like the way I have this quirk, which I'm sure a lot of my Instagram friends must be knowing about it, that whenever I see a Coca-Cola truck in the city, like in Vancouver, somehow surprisingly I get a good news on that day. Now I have made that, I have fed that to my subconsciousness, that if I have seen a Coca-Cola truck, I'm out there for some work, then I somehow give this notion to myself that, bro, be ready, today you are going to get some good news. So that's what I'm trying to tell guys. If you already have this yoga and knowingly or unknowingly you keep on saying this thing to every other person you meet, you know, I have a Manglik Dosh, that's the reason I'm not able to get married. You know, I have a Manglik Dosh, I'm sure my marriage will not work out. Please stop doing that. Now comes the question, so called the Manglik Dosh. So guys, over here I was just listening to some of the podcast. Over there, I actually got this very good point from that astrologer. I'm not lying. I keep on getting inspiration from whatever is happening all around us. And that astrologer actually gave a very valid point, that he says this thing that sometimes it's not very relevant, or sometimes it's not very necessary that you have to match one Manglik Dosh person with another Manglik Dosh person, because in a way you are amplifying the energy of aggression in the personality of those two people. It's just like that you are bringing two ticking bombs and placing them together. So the copied part was finished, now it's my own original work. And I always say this thing, that there is always a difference between the manifestation of the energies of Mars, and if you compare it with the energies of the Saturn, Rahu and Ketu. Because see, Mars and the majority of the problems created by the planet Mars is connected with our exertion of energy. It is connected with our own behavior. It is connected with our own drive. This could be sexual drive, this could be jealousy, can be connected with the planet Mars. But Mars does not have much of the blame which can be attached to it the way the energies of Saturn, Rahu and Ketu can create blockages in someone's life. Because over there, the fatalistic events, some sort of, karmas done by you in the past lifetime, and the blockages or, something as a part of the prarabdha, as a fixed destiny which needs to be endured, comes into the picture. So if I were to say when it comes down to the Saturn, Rahu and Ketu, those kind of prohibition list of do's and don'ts is something which needs to be strictly followed. So for example, if your Saturn is placed in the 7th house and you're trying to get married when you're already not settled, like in your profession, in your career, your livelihood is unstable, and over and above that, you are a Cancer Lagna, you are a Leo Lagna, and now you're trying to get married, you fall in love with someone and you're trying to get married when there is no security in your life, then obviously it is going to be giving you negative results. Marriage might not work out, or there might be divorce, breakup or separation kind of energy which you have to deal with. And when it comes down to Ketu is like altogether a different chapter. I do not want to scare you guys, because Ketu's energy in the 7th house is very difficult to deal with. I always say, wheresoever Ketu is placed, just fold your hands and accept whatever comes to you. Do not fight and do not come in the way of the natural process of the cosmos, of the universe. Whatever is meant for you, it is very strongly pre-written. Right at the right time, the right person will be there in front of you. The more you will be creating a fuss, the more you will be trying to fight with your destiny, the more you will be in a way offending the planet, which is Ketu being placed there in your 7th house. When it comes down to Rahu can actually give you a personality or a partner who's going to be very colorful, or who's going to be very different than your caste, your creed, or the kind of personality you have. So that all is Saturn, Rahu, Ketu. Now, when it comes down to the planet Mars, so guys, what we will do in this video is that we will try to look at all the Manglik dosha placement, which generally happens if Mars is going to be placed in your 1st house, in the 4th house, in the 7th house, in the 8th house, in the 12th house. I'm not including the 2nd house placement of the Mars, which generally is only considered in the southern part of India, but in majority of the rest of the India, they only consider Manglik dosha placement as if Mars is going to be placed in the 1st house, in the 4th house, in the 7th house, in the 8th house and the 12th house. So what is the right way of dealing with this placement? Now in rest of the video, we will be having our discussion on that. So guys, to begin with, now let's say for example, if you will find that Mars is going to be placed in the 1st house. So now if you have to look out for a matrimonial match for this person, so do not do this mistake that you will blindly and bluntly you will be picking a chart over where other person also has got Mars being placed in the 1st house. Because if you will match two people both with Mars being placed in the 1st house, they both are going to be extremely impulsive or aggressive. So this is not the right way of doing the matchmaking. What you are doing, like you are heading a very fast car towards a very downward slope. So obviously the speed is going to go out of the control and it's going to end up in a collision or in an accident. So the point which I'm saying over here is that if in your chart you have got Mars being placed in the 1st house, so in a way whatsoever planet is placed in the 1st house, it makes our personality like that. Your personality or reflecting or exuding the energy of the planet Mars, being youthful, being energetic, high desires, your sexual appetite and the energy levels might also be very high. So what is the right way of balancing this energy? So generally guys, we say this thing that if you will be looking for a chart where the other person has got the Janam Tara, the moon nakshatra, to be of the category of the Mridu or Matri, like in which the Mrikshira, Chitra, Anuradha, Revati comes. That could be one of the win-win kind of situation for you. Second thing is that the energy of the Mars could be mellowed because of the natural benefic planets, like the way for example if other person is strongly ruled by the moon, strongly ruled by the Venus, strongly ruled by the energy of the Mercury or the Jupiter. So moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, whether the ascendant is ruled by these planets or whether any of these planets is being placed in the 1st house of another person, that could be a mellowed kind of energy. Now again guys, astrology is a combination of like so many exception and combination. Like the way whenever I'm looking at the chart of a female, in a female chart, if you will find 9th house to be strengthened, if you will find Jupiter to be strengthened, or if you will find like Jupiter in any way giving aspect to the 7th house, that in itself tend to remain a saving grace. But you would have understood the logic so far that if you have to do a matchmaking for a person who is going to have Mars being placed in the first house, it would be much more better rather than bluntly going for another chart where another person has got Mars being there in the first house or in the 8th house or in the 12th house. It is going to be a lot of exertion of the energies which will be coming in the way of each other. And like the way, guys, we say this thing, that movie King Kong or the Beauty and the Beast and so many of these movies, aggression and the animalistic things can only be tamed and controlled and win over through love. So this is how you have to balance out the energy. And again, if someone says this thing to you, okay, once we will reach other placement of the planet Mars, I will keep on explaining that. So that is what I wanted to say over here, that the first house Mars needs to be balanced or counterbalanced with the energy of the Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus influencing the personality of other person. Along with that, nothing would be better than that. If the Moon Nakshatra is going to be of Mridu or the Matra, like friendly, which comes the Mrikshira, Chitra, Anuradha, Revati, that could be a win-win kind of situation. Now guys, let's say for example, if you will come up a chart where the other person has got, someone has got Mars being placed in the 4th house. Now guys, in a way, Mars being placed in the 4th house is generally seen as very good in the career, because from over here Mars gives its aspect to the 7th house, it gives its aspect to your house of career and also to the house of the gains. But when it comes down to the matrimonial harmony, so generally guys, we say this thing that the other person you're going to get married, it becomes very important that other person has got, we say this thing that, you know, the planets and the houses which can make someone very family oriented, can make someone very domestic. Like this could be a case that 2nd house has to be strengthened, 4th house has to be strengthened. Now this could be a case that even if Saturn is going to be placed in its own sign in the 2nd house, that actually can make someone very family oriented. In the 4th house, you will find the energy of the, like Moon is placed in other person's chart, Venus is placed, Jupiter is placed, that could be a win-win kind of situation. So this is how guys, you have to counterbalance things. So for example, if one person has got a denial of a childbirth or difficulty in obtaining a child, now if you are going to match another person with also the similar yoga, then you are actually making a person and heading that person in the direction of complete denial or being devoid of the happiness on the account of children. So the right way of doing the matchmaking is that whatever is coming as an obstruction in one chart, you have to counterbalance that. If you are going to be matching the same energy, one person with the 4th house Mars, you will put another person having the Mars in the 4th house, one big fight, and they both will be headed for the divorce or the worse. Like those kind of marriages I'm talking about from the Indian perspective, over where people even start living separately and they do not even file for divorce. Like you are just you have got a label of being married, but you are not living together with another person and you are struck in a bond of the marriage for years. So that could be one of those kind of possibility. So whenever you come across a chart where Mars is going to be placed in the 4th house, which otherwise can give good success in the professional sphere to that person, but the right way of balancing this energy is that in the other chart you have to see that is this person domesticated, family oriented, does this person values the family bonding and all. And how you can do that? It can only happen, the kind of strength is there in the 2nd house, in the 4th house, like in the 9th house. Is the 4th house under the influence of benefic planets, like natural benefic planets, Mercury, Moon, Venus, Jupiter, or 4th house also has got, like one person has got Mars being there in the 4th house. You match that with another person who's got Mars, Saturn and Rahu in the 4th house, or Mars and Ketu in the 4th house, then obviously you're just doing injustice to that person's life. Now guys, let's say for example, if one person has got Mars being placed in the 7th house. So now guys, one way of looking at this placement is that there is going to be a lot of energy, determination and drive which will go in the matters of the 7th house. Guys, never ever overlook this fact that Mars can actually make someone very protective towards the partner. It can actually make you like very loyal and like kind of slightly possessive regarding protecting your partner. And these are like those people, when they fall in love, they put their heart and soul, they get very extremely dedicated and devoted to their partner. The output of the emotion and their protective instincts towards their marriage, towards their partner, tend to remain very strong. Now guys, when we talk about the 7th or the 8th house combination of the Mars, especially when we talk about the 7th house, we know this thing, wherever Mars is placed, there's a lot of action which is happening over there. So yes, the sexual aspect tend to remain very strong. So you have to match this person with a chart over there. There is a balancing kind of energy. So we all know this thing, that Mars and Venus are like natural born kind of lovers. So you have to see that in the 7th house of another person's chart, is there a presence of, like, this could be a planet like Venus, this could be planet like Mercury is also good, Moon is also good, along with that in another person's chart. Because see, again guys, when we talk about even the sexual part, a lot of that is being governed and controlled by the mind as well. So let's say for example, one person has got Mars in the 7th house and another person has got Moon being conjunct with Ketu, that too in a Saturnian sign. So Moon being placed in the Capricorn and conjunct with Ketu. So that person in itself, the personality of that person is very dry, and this person is all about claiming that territory and having that physical intimacy with the partner. So that is how you have to counterbalance things. So it's not like that you have seen you spotted Mars being there in the 7th house and you bluntly match that person, another person with Mars being in the 7th house, in the 8th house. So too much of the excessive of the energy in any one plane might also create a disruption as well. So that's what I'm trying to say. Beyond any doubt, Mars being there in the 7th house will put and demand lot of action happening in the marriage, and it can be counterbalanced with other supporting factors which I just mentioned. Now guys, when we talk about Mars being placed in the 8th house, and guys, I just want to make it very clear, in certain cases, like if your ascendant in itself is ruled by the planet Mars, like you are a Aries Lagna, you are a Scorpio Lagna, in that case you do not have to worry much about it. Then this whole combination of the Manglik dosha will not be getting applicable in your case. Now guys, when we talk about Mars being placed in the 8th house, when I went to India, I did this podcast to a very senior faculty in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and he told me this thing, that Nipun, Mars in the 8th house in a female's chart is called as the Mangalya Sthan. It's like the Manglik or the auspicious placement. Second thing, if Mars is placed in the 8th house in one person's chart, at the time of the matchmaking, it becomes very important. Okay, I will not deny this thing, but over here in another person's chart, seeing the longevity becomes very important. Because for example, if one person has got Mars being placed in the 8th house and you are matching this chart with another person, let's forget Mars for a while, but you are matching this chart with another person who has got ascendant lord debilitated in the 12th house. Ascendant lord in itself is in the influence of Saturn or Ketu. Ascendant lord is weak, afflicted in the 8th house or in the 6th house. Then the lifespan in itself is little bit sketchy. So over there, then this could be a matter of concern. So you have to be very clear whenever you find Mars being in a certain alignment where the exertion of the energy is happening, and you have to counterbalance it. So if one person has got Mars being placed in the 8th house, for this person's perspective, it will make that person slightly accident prone, injury prone. There's going to be heightened energy which will go in claiming the territory, like the person could be slightly animalistic, have a lot of passion, excitement, adventure, even in the physical intimacy and the sexual activities and adventure and all. So that needs to be counterbalanced with another person's chart. But moreover guys, because 8th house somehow is very closely tied up with the longevity of the relationship, and it has this capability to impact the energies of your partner as well. And we say this thing, that once the even in a female's chart, once you are sexually active, involved, the Mars gets activated even in a female's chart. And I guess guys, that is the only reason in the Sanatan Dharma, the married females, they used to use the red vermilion, the sindoor, and the red tika, the red sari. And even in our Hindu marriages, fire is very important, because in a way you are honoring the planet Mars. So again, now now coming back to the point, if one person has got Mars being placed in the 8th house, when you are doing a matchmaking with another person, the most important thing, more than the placement of the Mars, the lifespan, checking the lifespan of other person becomes very important, and nothing would be better than that. Over and above that, if this person has got, like for example, in certain cases, if another person has got Saturn being well placed in its own territory, in its own sign, like this person is like a Gemini Lagna, and in the 8th house Saturn is placed in the Capricorn, then you do not have to worry anything about it. It's not going to impact or affect the lifespan or energy of another person. So that is how matchmaking needs to be done. So again guys, all what I wanted to say, because I've seen many astrologers, all what they do is that one person with Mars being in the 4th house or match him with another person with Mars in the 4th house, and the domestic life is filled with, you even pass from outside of the house and you will see you will hear the quarrels and shouting and the curse word, because the house is on fire, actually on fire. So so that's what I wanted to say. When you will find Mars being placed in the 8th house in another person's chart, you have to give attention to the lifespan, age, longevity or lifespan you have to check. And second thing is that in a way guys, because now we have reached a territory, 7th house, 8th house, 12th house, somehow the sexuality and action, adventure, engagement in these things tend to become important. And again, we have to see the overall chart, overall personality, impact, influence of the moon. Like if you have got Mars being placed in the 7th house or the 8th house, and in itself, like moon is placed in the Purva Falguni Nakshatra, or moon is placed in the Mrikshira Nakshatra, moon is placed in the Rohini Nakshatra, then obviously the person's personality is going to be, there's a heightened validation we are getting, that Mars being there in the 7th or in the 8th, and the moon in itself is in the Purva Falguni, in the Rohini Nakshatra, Mrikshira Nakshatra, Bharni Nakshatra. So that in itself means that this person is sexually stimulated, and for this person to be in a happy matrimonial bond, sexual compatibility will be of paramount importance. So, but again guys, most important takeaway of this video is that when you will find Mars being strengthened in the 8th house of one person, for the person B, the age, longevity and strength of the ascendant lord needs to be checked, needs to be verified. And lastly guys, if you will find Mars to be placed in the 12th house. So guys, Mars in the 12th house is a tricky placement, because beyond any doubt 12th house is actually the house of the bed pleasure. And the concern and the problem with the 12th house Mars is that if this person is not going to find the compatibility within the house, these people will not even hesitate to go out and establish and get into some sort of secretive and clandestine relationship as well. Now again, with that said, I'm not saying that everyone who's going to have Mars in the 12th house is going to be acting or behaving like that, but for the sustenance or harmony in the relationship, physical compatibility becomes very, very important. And again guys, nothing would be better than that. With this kind of placement, if this person is very spiritually oriented, like for when we say spending long hours in doing sadhana, in doing rituals, this could be a supportive placement as well. But yes, purely from the point of view of the matrimonial matchmaking, it would be much more recommended that other person needs to have strong physical energy. Other person needs to have a potent 12th house. Nothing would be better than that. Even if you have got your balancing aspect, so far you would have understood that if one person has got Mars being placed in the 12th house, and another person, even if that person has got moon being placed in the 12th house in certain nakshatra like Purva Falguni, Bharni, or this could be Mrikshira, or Venus is placed in the 12th house, or Mars is placed in the 12th house, this can actually bring a compatibility in the exertion of the energies. That's all what I wanted to say. So yes guys, in a nutshell, the takeaway of this video is that when it comes down to doing the matchmaking with so much of the demonizing of the Manglik dosha, so do not be very narrow-minded or very restricted in your analysis. You do not only have to look at Mars being placed in certain houses in another person's chart for whom you are trying to do the matchmaking. Like the way a lot many people say that after the age of 28, Manglik dosh, impact of the Manglik dosha starts getting diminished. Along with that, even in India, they're like, temples, like one of the temple is in one of the province in India, Madhya Pradesh, Mangalnath Mandir. So this is a temple which is generally advised and recommended for people to go there and get their this affliction removal ritual done. It generally happens over there. But even after that, moreover, you do not have to worry about Manglik dosha causing harm to another person. Like if whatsoever you have as a part of the fixed destiny in your chart, no one else can snatch or can take away from you. Like the way so many times people say, one person was Manglik, another person was like non-Manglik, and the minute and the day they got married, another person got killed. The non-Manglik person was got killed. How can it be the case? Like if this has to be the case, how come that person's brother or mother or their parents, they did not have that combination that their child is going to die premature? So just one person's arrival in your life cannot harm you negatively, adversely. Mars has got more to do with the flaws which comes in our behavior, which can be tamed, which can be controlled through love, through discipline, through consistent efforts. It's not like something where Rahu and Ketu that you do not even know the source of that problem, or it's like Saturn where life has completely blocked you. Mars is not like that. It's just like that with proper tender care, love, counseling, a lot of the issues connected with the planet Mars can be tamed, can be controlled. So yes guys, this is something which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs. For further more updates and notification on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on my Instagram account. Dhanyavad.